I think that we can all agree these days that when we see a lot of people walking around, there are a lot of them that seem to be drifting. They're a bit confused, a bit overwhelmed. They're not quite sure of where they're going. And the thing is, I see an awful lot more. I don't like to talk about negative things particularly, but I see an awful lot more sort of litter and things things arranged messily. And I intervene the vast majority of the time, and I pick up the rubbish and I put it in a bin, or I straighten something up. And in this similar vein, I saw a tweet earlier on today, and it was somebody announcing their birthday as being today. And I always think that people who have birthdays right at the beginning of the year, right at the end, I always feel a bit sorry for them. I think, God, their parents were so selfish. What were they doing during the business, knowing full well that 9 months later they'd be having a child mere weeks away from Christmas. And I do kind of feel a bit smug in saying this, because my birthday, I believe, is basically the best birthday because it's at the end of June. So not only do I get to celebrate birthday parties in the resplendent English summer, but also it's halfway through the year. So I have my birthday, then it's 6 months to Christmas, then it's 6 months to my birthday again. I just think it's all very neat and that my parents did very well. And the truth is that when I was conceived, my parents were actually on holiday in the south of France, so rather chic, and it was around my mum's birthday, so maybe she was in a particularly good mood at that point. Very well done. But this inspired me because I wrote my blog post today much later than I normally would. I normally write in the mornings, but this was a blog post that I wrote in the afternoon. And I saw this tweet, and I thought, we have to live intentionally, and we have to be focused in on what really matters to us, and what really matters. Because I think it can be very, very easy to sort of go through the motions, and there are things. I said this the other day. Whenever I'm recording my videos, I am aware that I write and I do, record this content being in a very, very comfortable position, and one where I, lack the responsibilities of the vast majority of people, being single, being childless in my mid-40s. It's easy for me to say, just pursue your dreams and go after doing all of this, when people are working, they are traveling, and they're increasingly being tax raped out of existence. But I do see it as my job to remind you that it is your life. You deserve to live it in a way that is the most joyful, the most profitable, the most productive, and the most, uplifting. And I think particularly in this cultural and political climate, that can feel like a really luxury mentality to hold. But I advocate for personal responsibility. I advocate for, taking charge of your life and being the one to remind yourself that unless you are living with intention, unless you are living in a way that is satisfying as many of the parts of you as possible that need nourishing and investing in, well, it's really easy for life to become formulaic. And we are each of us, I think we all believe this in one way or another, we are each of us on the planet for a specific reason. And in the last few months, what I have done is I've not made a sort of a rigorous schedule or a particular timetable for how I do things on a day-to-day basis. But I have made one thing non-negotiable, and that it's I have all of my technology, computer, phone, the internet, everything switched off by 9, and that I am reading a chapter of my book each evening, or reading, and in the few months that I've done that, I've gotten through numerous books, and it's an incredibly satisfying thing. And if you pay attention to the principles that you're living by, that there are a handful of things that you really, really want to do on a daily basis, well, it's you that has to carve out that time for yourself. And again, for me, that is a very, very easy thing to do. I have no dependents. I don't have a regular job to go to, but we all have the same 24 hours. And some people organise them better than others. And I do as much as I possibly can to ensure that on a daily basis, I'm getting all of the essential things done, and also what we might call the luxury things done, the things that I really enjoy doing. And I get to the end of the day and I feel relatively satisfied by doing it, reminded that, I know that I can be doing more, but building myself up and building up routines and covering all of the bases. And that's all that we really can do. Life has a way of throwing things at us and presenting us with logistical challenges, and that can feel, again, quite difficult at the moment when we feel, and basically we are being attacked from multiple vectors, and it can make life feel rather cumbersome and hard work, and also disorienting, that our communities are changing, our cities and towns look different, the whole mood, the weather, all these different things, they feel very, very different from how they felt decades ago. But no matter where you find yourself in the world, the opportunity is there, and you have the capacity to actually remind yourself that it is your life. You're meant to live it in the way that you want to live it. And you just have to be proactive. Everything is designed for us. We're put through the conveyor belt of life when we're very, very young, wherever we are. But as you get older, you have to become more and more responsible and intentional, because everything is pulling us in a million different directions as we get older. And we have to remember that we deserve to have good days, to be happy, to be as satisfied as we possibly can be, and that you have to be the one to move the needle. Nobody else is going to do it for you. So live intentionally as much as you possibly can. Remember that even though it might not feel as often as you want, do the things that you really, really enjoy. Remind yourself of what your unique purpose is, and as much as you possibly can, pursue that, because time is always a ticking, and your life should be as wholesome and rewarding as it possibly can be.